What's up, comic book fans? Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. This is your host, Mike Spider Slayer. Guys, you're getting ready to do another countdown video. That's right, we're on countdown episode number 29. But before we get started, just wanted to remind you guys of the road to Comic of the Year. That's right, if you guys have not seen that video, I'm going to leave an annotation up top. And what it is, it's a list of comics, which is group number 1, that is possibly going to get nominated for Comic of the Year. So if you guys want to check out that video and put your input in, go ahead and do that. The last day of voting is today and tomorrow morning before we move on to group number 2. So take a look at that video and vote for your comic to possibly get nominated for Comic of the Year. Alright, so with that being said, let's get started with the countdown. We got 14 comics altogether. This was not a great week for comic readers, I don't think personally. They didn't like a lot of comics this week. So here we go. Number 14, that's right. Now, I've never read this book before in its series, so I said, well, let me try Dial E, see what this is about. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. What is this about? Well, this book was just garbage in my opinion. I hated it. Every issue had to have a different artist on it. Every issue. Did I say every issue? Every page. Every page there was a different artist, and I could not stand it. And it literally says it right here of all the artists that are on the book. So right away you're like, don't get any type of consistent art whatsoever. And what this book has to do is about this device that's like a phone, and you dial it and you can change into different type of creatures, I guess, but you got to think evil or whatnot. This was just so weird and so out there, and every page had to do with a different type of character. So here you got Suffocate, and then they're running away from these people who want this device in the first place. And then there's like House that has legs, and then there's another character called Shell Shock, and it just is all over the place. Here's another Electropax. I'm Electropax. And then we change, and then this one goes into Anabite. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, we have to go through every Goad. Here's Goad. And maybe they thought this would be pretty inventive by showing all these different types of characters and what this device can do, but I found it completely just screwing with my mind and not having any kind of I guess, fluent story in here at all. This was just all over the place. I hated it. I wish I never bought it. It was $3.99. It's a waste of my money. Even the cover's not even that great. But I bought it because yeah, it's Villains Month. I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to review it and see what I thought. Don't buy it. If you haven't, don't buy it in 3D. Don't buy it in 2D. And definitely don't buy it at all. Oh my God. No stars. I hated it. Luckily for Superior Spider-Man, it did not make the worst pick of the week because of that. However, this book got only 1 star just because I don't like the direction the book is going right now. I thought that before this story arc, I thought that Superior Spider-Man was living up to what he said he was going to be. Not happy with Peter Parker going back. I want Peter back just as much as everybody else. However, I've been keeping an open mind to everything that's been going on, and I feel it's part of the story to Peter's recovery or road back. And you finally see him get rid of Peter. You finally see Superior be his own character, do the things that he's wanted to do, create a new suit, create Spider Island, rebel against the people that, Peter had. He wanted to create his own life. And he's kind of been shoving Peter off to the side. And you kind of still see that in this issue, where he's having trouble juggling everything. But this whole Spider-Man 2099 just kind of interfered in all that. And how that, has an influence in the book's future is still yet to be determined, because supposedly in issue 20, because of this time thing that's going on, it's supposed to change the Spider-Man universe forever. And the way things have been going in the Spider-Man universe, it's going to be for the bad. I expect it. But this temporal time event that's going to happen is ridiculous. But me personally, Spidey 2099, I would have seen maybe even keep the consistency. As much as I hate it, it's just the time travel thing is just being way overdone in Marvel. They've done the Age of Ultron, which has affected certain titles, and if you're going to be consistent with it, be consistent with it. Don't do something else with time travel now. I would have even liked to seen maybe even Spidey 2099, the time rift get messed up just like some of the other characters, and somehow he appears in this universe and he has no idea how he got here, and somehow he has to work with Superior and find out what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, and see a little bit of a mystery of the character and unfold, what's going on there. And I just felt him coming through a door, and then Grady going messing up this temporal event and rescuing Timber Stone, protecting him. I just find it disinteresting. I just don't care about Horizon Labs. And I just found that it just messes with the direction it's going. And again, the only thing I saw out in this book that was a positive was Superior actually having struggles being, his alter ego, which is Peter Parker. Otherwise, besides that, this book was horrible. I couldn't stand it. The artwork was okay, but God, this got 1 star. Waste of time. Next, number 12. Wonder Woman issue 23.1, The Cheetah. Now, there's a trend with the villains books this week. It seems like the villain books for week 1 were really good. Some of them last week were actually really good too. This week, they were all, for me, they were all really pretty weak, except maybe 1 or 2 of the books. But this one was one of them. I don't read Wonder Woman on a consistent basis. I wasn't happy that I didn't get the 3D cover for it. However, I'm reading the book, and you got the interior artwork here, which is Cheetah. And Cheetah, to me, is a very cool female villain. I think she looks awesome. I think where she came from was pretty awesome. But I didn't learn anything new from her. She didn't really infatuate me. We see her, go against Wonder Woman here. Certain things that happened. But I just found the issue actually really boring. The artwork was okay. We get to see the history of everything that happened with her, with the cheetah, and I just found it really boring. And by the time I got done with it, I was just like, I really don't care. And yeah, that was it. I gave it a 2. I just did not care. I was really falling asleep with it. And it just felt like a lot of these villain books are just, they're fillers, yes, but they got to tell a great story to make you more interested in a villain. And I just felt this one was a miss here. It's a 2 out of 5 for me. Number 11. Justice League of America 7.3 Shadow Thief. Now, the Justice League of America books were kind of a surprise, the first and the second one. Shadow Thief here was okay. We got the cover here with the shadows going everywhere, and then we get to learn about our character, about where she came from, how she got this suit, where she is today, and why she is an evil character. You get to see her falling off of this building here, and as she's kind of falling off the building, it flashes back to her origin tale. And she's a spy. She's always been a spy. She did a job for Argus, which you get to see in the issue. You get to see a little bit about what her, these shadow creatures are. That's what her suit is. And the cool thing, and it only is a few pages in here, which has made this issue cool, was, yes, her being shot or being thrown out of this building, but in a couple pages you get to see like her true origin tale. She came against this case that she had to get for Argus, and it was a biohazard thing on there. She wasn't supposed to open it, but curiosity, got her. So she wound up checking it out. She had her mom and her brother go into hazmat suits and wanted to check out the suit and what this stuff is all about. So they check it out, and right away it's just pure evil. It just disintegrates people just like that. And in a desperate attempt to escape, she finds this suit, and she thought it was a protective suit against evil, or against this evil. That's what she said. So that's what she's putting on right here. Little does she know it's this suit that winds up being part of her skin. Almost reminds me a little bit of Venom. That's what it reminds me of, because you see it on here. Similar features: long fingernails, claws. She can shape things, but she can travel through the shadows, which was interesting. So that's what I got out of it. That's how I got her origin tale, and she's a spy and she kills people and things like that, and she's slowly turning. And again, it reminds me a lot of Venom, a lot of Carnage. So this was an interesting tale. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Don't have to buy it. It's not going to change anything. It doesn't connect to Forever Evil really in any way, shape, or form. Just got to learn a little bit about this character. So I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. So we're at number 10, top 10. What's this one? Deathstroke. That's right, issue number 1, otherwise known as Teen Titans 23.2. This is another book that had nothing to do with the Titans in it whatsoever. Just had Deathstroke going in here, going back, flashing back to time, about working with his old, friends called Deathblow, and you basically see Deathstroke in this issue, reliving things of the past with his son, how he doesn't want to make the same mistakes that he made with his son Grant. You get to learn about, I guess, death perception here, and how fast the human body reacts to a bullet being shot at you, and things of that nature. But we get to learn how, or what his motive is for being this bounty hunter, or whatever Deathstroke really is. You get to see his eye being blown off, which is interesting. And you get to see, again, his real motivation of doing what he actually does. The artwork's okay in this particular book. I've seen better art. But this was an average issue as well, just like most Deathstroke issues really are, when Rob Liefeld did the series too. But again, you get to see that he has his daughter. He hasn't told his daughter yet what he is and what he's about or anything like that. And his real motivation is for money. And that's really it, and that's pretty sad. So again, this was an average issue. 3 out of 5. Nothing special here. Don't have to pick it up. I didn't get the 3D cover on this one, so I spent $2.99. Not bad, but not great either. So 3 out of 5. Number 9. Superior Carnage, issue number 3. The reason why this book is not the worst book of the week, because the story that surrounds what happens in this issue is actually pretty good. You actually see the Wizard doing things for his son, and he's experiencing an Alzheimer's dementia type of thing, and he wants to do this job. He wants to do this job for his son. He wants to make his son proud, and you feel for the character here. However, everything that surrounds the Wizard is ridiculous. We get to see the new Doctor. At the end of the last issue, we saw the Doctor taking the Carnage symbiote in, and our Doctor's name is, I keep forgetting his name, Carl Mollis, and we get to see him get that Carnage symbiote. So at this point in the story, you're sitting there going, dude, this is pretty cool, Okay, Cletus Cassidy, he's lobotomized. There's no mind left. Totally understand that. I totally get it. So we got to get him a new host. And he starts off all crazy and everything, just like we know the symbiote is. Now, the symbiote, that's all it knows. All it knows is Cletus Cassidy, so it's going to act like him. Psychotic, crazy, no restraint whatsoever. And the next thing we see is the Wizard kind of controls the Doctor's mind, and it makes him more smart, which fits the Doctor, which I don't have a problem having a smarter symbiote. But the first thing we go to is when it gets controlled is he turns into an Atrocitus slash Punisher slash Terminator slash like Carnage. And this is totally ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. He's told to wear a trench coat. He's told to go do all this crap, and then he winds up looking like this. So since when does a symbiote need guns? Why does it need guns? It doesn't need weapons. It's stupid. Why does it need a trench coat? All it cares about is just killing and taking over a host. So if this has to do with the wizards doing, or the doctors doing, or both, it's stupid, and it just needs to return back to its normal form. You get one little hint of that because the wizard loses control of the symbiote, and you wind up seeing kind of it coming back here. So if this is a temporary thing, then please make it a temporary thing. I'm hoping that it's a temporary thing and not a permanent thing, because if it is superior and it stays this way, there's a lot of angry people out there. There is a lot of angry people. And at this point, you're ruining the Spider-Man universe. You're ruining it. I am literally doing a topic video on Dark Avenger Inc. on the Spider-Man universe when I get done with this sometime today. And you're going to see how I feel about every Spider-Man comic that I'm reading right now. So 3 out of 5 for this average. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Next, we have number 8. Savage Dragon, issue number 191. This was a cool issue. It really goes into the character of Malcolm, Savage Dragon's son, what he's going through right now, living with his ex-girlfriend who had a baby. You get to see Savage Dragon's race being endangered once again of the virus dragon coming aboard. We get to see the relationship between Malcolm and his girlfriend Maxine. And the artwork in this particular issue of Savage Dragon is perfect. This is the way Erik Larsen draws. The colors are perfect. The artwork reminds me of the just perfect early issues of the Savage Dragon. This is a phenomenal issue. This was a really good issue of this story. Love the pages here. Again, you get to see the struggles between Maxine and Malcolm. You get to see the new Dart make her appearance once again and winds up slicing Mako in half. Great book. This was really fun read. Great book to look at. Awesome visuals, awesome colors here. I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 5. I think we're on number 7. Let me just make sure real quick. Yep. Number 7. Black Hand, or Green Lantern issue 23.3, otherwise known this month as Black Hand issue number 1, or this week. I was expecting this to be pretty good. Black Hand's always that crazy creature. You know, you think of Blackest Night when you see him, and you know, you got zombies coming from the ground here. This is a really cool cover. So I'm like, sweet, I'm on board. This was actually the last book I read for the week because I was excited to read this. But this issue was just okay. It was good, but it wasn't what I was expecting. You get to see the return of the Black Hand here. He doesn't remember very much. He winds up waking up in a morgue or whatnot, and he winds up going to prison, and he's in prison, and he winds up getting some cockroaches. Cockroaches come to life. He winds up, you know, getting a cop that's killed. A cop kills somebody in the jail, and you get to see him slowly, you know, rising the dead back up. He's still not sure what's going on. He knows that, you know, the cities are not right. Things are not going right. But he's anxious to find out what's going on to get his memory back. So what he does is the first thing he winds up going is going to Hal Jordan's father's grave. And once he does that, he winds up remembering everything that's going on. He winds up getting Hal Jordan's father's hand on him or whatnot. And that's basically it. I mean, he gets more, you know, dead people rising from the dead, and that's it. That's all it says. It doesn't say to be continued, not to be seen in future pages, just end. That's all. Artwork was kind of creepy, kind of eerie, fits the book a little bit, but I've seen better stories. And again, I just felt like this was a complete filler because we didn't learn anything new at all really about Black Hand and where he came from or anything like that. I just found an uneventful story, but it was okay. It's Green Lantern. I like the character, so I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 5. Number 6, Arcane, number 1, or known as Swamp Thing, issue 23.1. Probably the only, I think this is the only Swamp Thing book of Villains Month, and you get to see Arcane being trapped. Now, I never read Rot World because the trade's still not out yet, but all I know is it seems like Arcane is trapped in this world forever where he can't get any rot. So if he kills something, like poor Bunny Fufu over here, and he, excuse me, he waits for it to rot, it's not going to happen. So he tries killing himself. That doesn't happen. And you can see that because he got all his dead cells lying on the ground too. But we get to see Annabelle make her return. And you find out that, that she's the avatar of the Rot right now. And she wants to find out the story of her mother. And where she died, and what happened to her. And she basically wants to know the history of her. So you get to learn, everything that there is to know about Annabelle's past, which I thought was a nice story. And I got something new out of this. You get to see Arcane, how he was just a sick little boy eating rabbits that were, dead on the ground when he was a little boy, and he became the, avatar of the Rot, and what his history was about. And you get to see, her fake mom, being tortured by Arcane, which was interesting, and it was really cool. And you get to see what happens to Annabelle's real mom. And by the time we get done with it all, you see her take off, and Arcane throws an eyeball through the little portal because he's trapped here. And the funny thing is it lands in an apple, and it rots the apple. So you see Arcane's eyeball in the apple here, and it's like he's looking at the real world. So that's one piece of him there that's still alive and well, or rotting and well, whatever you want to call it. But this was an interesting read. I did like it. It was enjoyable. It was a little lengthy, but it's fine. I got to learn a lot more about these characters in this world here, and I found it entertaining. The artwork fit the book of Swamp Thing. It's definitely a fun read, and I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed this one. All right, so we're at top 5. Number 5. Uncanny X-Men Battle of the Atom, chapter number 4, issue number 2. This was quite a filler issue. I've said this last week with chapter number 3. Felt like it was kind of fillerish, but they went from a point A to a point B situation where they ran away and they met the Uncanny X-Men. Well, in this issue, they met the Uncanny X-Men, and they're pleading their story of what's going on to them, which is Scott and Jean. And you get to see that here. A little bit of a filler story where you get to see Dazzler in the issue with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Maria Hill. And then you get to see a whole discussion. I mean, a whole discussion. The whole book takes place with them deciding, you get a little jumping on point, what happened in the past already, and you get this whole story of, should they stay? Shouldn't they stay? Should they stay? Should they go? Go to the past, go to the past. Emma doesn't agree. Scott wants them to stay. And it was the entire issue. And this is the trend on this particular series for me. The Uncanny X-Men series. When I was reading it, there was never any action in this series. All dialogue, all setup, everything that goes on. So by the time we're all done and over with this whole story, we get to see Emma and Jean Grey probably do a battle of the minds. Hopefully. Let's hope that it's not just a cliffhanger that lasts a page, and then we go, well, we're going to take them back. Well, no, they're going to stay here. No, we're going to take them back. Should we take them back? I hope we don't see that. Let's move on with the story, where we're going to go with this, and go. It was a fun issue. It was good. The artwork's decent. I'm giving it like a 3.5, 4 stars. It's a good story. Just let's not drag it out, okay? All right, here we go. Number 4. Penguin, number 1, otherwise known as Batman 23.3 we're at, yeah. Here we got the Penguin on the cover shooting his little gun, beep, 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 beep. And he's got his little umbrella, he'll protect him from the snow. And he's got a little top hat, he's got a big nose. Um, I'm not a fan of the Penguin. I'm not a huge fan of the Penguin, but this issue was really good. I liked it. I liked what the Penguin did here. He's trying to like reclaim the city because we all know what happened in the past with the Penguin. He kind of got shoved off to the side. He got taken over by the Emperor Penguin. I remember reading some of that story, and he's back and he's in his casino, and we get to see that, and he gets to see people winning in his casino. He gets to see some shady looking people that used to work in Las Vegas on the act winning money. And it wasn't like a huge in-depth story, but it was fun. You get to see what he does to people when they cross him or they bully him, and that's what this story is about. He basically kills these people at will on his own will. He hasn't killed his people on his own, he said, for about 3 years because they're smuggling money with him, they're talking shit about him, whatever, and he killed them all. But what the main story was about his friend, his former friend, which was named by the Carter Winston, and he's the mayor of the city. And he wants to clean up the city. He wants to get rid of all the crime, wants to get rid of everything. And the Penguin invites him over for dinner because he finds out that, his lovely assistant, I forgot her name, this chick's, wanting to find out what's he all about. And he goes, oh, he's a friend. He's a friend from high school or whatever it was. So he comes over, they have dinner, and he just says, you know what, I'm not going to take your shit anymore. That's what the mayor says. He's like, I'm going to clean up the city. It's true. He's like, you've taken over the city long enough. I'm going to clean up the slums. I'm going to shut down your casino. I'm going to make it its own mall. I'm going to make gas stations. I'm going to make strip malls. And your shit's going down. So he's like, okay, whatever. So he's like a toast to new adventures and new times. And next thing he sees, the mayor winds up waking up, and he killed his freaking assistant, and he was framed for it. And basically, what happens is he gets framed doing it. He's forced to not make the changes to the city, and the Penguin keeps him alive. And then at the end of the issue, well, you get to see the mayor's own demise. Great book. This was fun. This was entertaining. This was a good self-contained story that doesn't do with anything, but it was interesting enough to where it's like, well, it's a good tale. It basically shows you that the Penguin is alive and well and in control of his empire, and that's what this did here. And I really liked it, so I gave this one a 4 out of 5. All right, here we go. Top three. Number 3, Flash, otherwise known as Rogues number 1, issue 23.3. Cool cover here. Got Cold on there with his ice cold stuff shooting out. You got Flash laying on the ground just like he does in every 3D cover. And then you got the Rogues here, which is pretty awesome too. This was another good story. I really liked it. This really had to do with the Rogues and on basically how they are with each other. Now, I never read The Flash until I started reading the New 52 series, so I don't know much of their history, but all I know is that they're a tight unit, and they work well with each other. They never leave each other behind, and that's what's stressed in this issue. And you get to learn that, like the backstory of where they came from, how they got their powers, you know, the situations that they're in now because of Captain Cold. And it does a really good job at describing these characters. If you don't know who they are, you're going to know who they are by the end of the book because they show you their names. So it's kind of like a jumping on point for these characters to get you ready for what's going to happen in the future of the series and with Forever Evil. So you got Leonard Snart, a.k.a. Captain Cold. You got Sam Scudder, a.k.a. Mirror Master. You got Heat Wave. You got Weather Wizard. And then you got Lisa Snart. And you get to see Lisa, how she's in a coma, and she has her power because she's sick, and Mirror Master, and you get to see the sacrifice that they do for each other. You know, Sam and Lisa love each other, so she's going to sacrifice herself, possibly dying to bring Mirror Master back, which was interesting. You get to see Captain Cold, how he was the leader of the Rogues. You get to see the origins, kind of the origin tale, how they actually got their powers, because he wants to stay competitive with the heroes. So this was a really fun issue. I really enjoyed it. Again, you get to see a tale of people sticking together, and even though you're not heroes, they're villains, they still stick to each other and help one another. Now, they don't kill anybody, but they're still villains. And you get to see a little bit of the crime syndicate here. And then by the end of it all, you get to see them wanting to reclaim their cities, and that's not the case here. Everything is destroyed. And then it says it's to be continued in the Rogues Rebellion #1. So you're going to see more of these guys in that miniseries there. And this was a good issue. Not the same artist as we're used to seeing, different art, but we do have our normal writer in here, which is Brian Buccellato, who's done a great job on this series. Unfortunately, he will be leaving, but solid book. Definitely one of the best books of the week. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. #2. Lex Luthor, 23.3. Best Villains Book of the Week, in my opinion. This book goes into the psyche of Lex Luthor. The narration is fantastic by him, and it really shows you how much of an ass and a conceited butthead he really is here. And his infatuation with Superman is just sick. And you really get to see that in this issue. The issue takes place right before the events of Forever Evil, right before that helicopter crash, right before that discussion with Cord Industries. You get to see him get out of jail. You get to see him set up this desperate attempt to try to lure Superman into his eyes, but it doesn't actually happen. This was a fun issue. If you don't know too much about Lex Luthor's personality, you're going to learn it here. And I did for sure, because again, I never read that much DC stuff before the New 52. This really showed me how much of an asshole Lex Luthor is. But definitely by throwing his assistant off the ledge was just completely awesome. And this wound up having Lex Luthor's best day ever, based off of what he had happen to him in this issue. But give it another 10 minutes or so, it's going to be his worst day ever. So really great issue. I think it's kind of inventive on the way you go, well, how are we going to tell a good Lex Luthor story? We know all his origins, we know everything about him, blah, 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 blah. And this was a good way of doing it. So I enjoyed it, and this is going to get a 4.5 out of 5. Next, #1 issue of the week. And by far, this is #1 by far by any book. It's getting a 5 out of 5 stars. I truly enjoyed it. This is straight, if you guys followed what happened in the news, this is straight from, I think, the headlines. And this is Daredevil issue number 31. And yes, folks, this could be your possible comic of the year. It's going to be on one of those groups one day, so listen up. All right, so here we go. We got Daredevil issue number 31. Mark Waid is our writer here. Excuse me. We got our continuing artist. I think it's him. Pretty sure it's him. I always forget the guy's name. Samney, I think it is. Whatever it is. Good art inside the book. Gestures on the book. Behind everything that's going on. What happens in this actual issue? Well, you get to see Foggy in the beginning. You have Foggy on here. He's in his cancer treatment program. He makes friends. He gives everyone Daredevil shirts, right? You have Matt Murdock winds up visiting him, and you wind up seeing that Kirsten McGuffey is taking his place, and he's the one that recommended her. And Matt Murdock's not happy about the whole thing. He's like, "Are you kidding me? If you didn't have cancer, I'd freaking kill you," which was pretty awesome. And as the issue goes along, you see Kirsten wind up bringing Matt along for a specific trial that's on TV. High-profile trial. If you read the book, this trial is based off of the Trayvon Martin case. If you guys are not familiar with that case, it just settled not too long ago. Um, Basically, it's a hate crime. It's about someone killing a black teenager that was an honor roll student, and just because the person looks suspicious, the kid, wound up getting killed. And this is basically straight out of that. If you read all the descriptions that goes on in this case, um, and what happens is the defendant winds up getting off free, just like in the real case. So what happens is you get this character by the name of James Priest, who was the prosecutor, and winds up, saying this is a tough time. It's definitely a disappointment, but I'm showing you the names of the jury, and it's like holy shit. Now, based off of the verdict, it's like you have hate crimes. You're obviously going to have people that agree with it, and then you're going to have other people that don't agree with the situation, and it's going to go into race and all kinds of things like that. So when you expose the jury members, it's like holy crap, what's going on? You're exposing the jury in this most high profile case ever. It was ridiculous, and it causes all these crimes and everything else that's going on, all these riots in the streets, and Hank Pym is notified, and Matt Murdock is aware that something's not right because he heard something going on in his ear, and we see that Priest is being questioned and everything that's going on, and he's being tackled by the police and by the mobs. He gets arrested, and there's people saying no justice, and this was just a wonderful issue on the setup here, but Matt Murdock is aware that the jester is behind everything because, again, he heard that something was a setup. And by the time we get to the end of the issue, we find out um, that someone is hanging at the end of the issue. So this was crazy stuff here. And the person that's hung is wearing one of those Daredevil shirts. Is it Foggy? I don't know, because based off of the note that's hanging here, it says to Maddie, and that's the way he talks to him. So I don't know, but it's Jester behind the whole thing. There's a guy hanging. There's this whole case that's not settled. Great stuff. This was a great issue. Nice artwork, nice story. Again, straight from the presses. If you realized what was going on here, I really loved this book, and by far got the #1 book. This was a true, really great story. What comics should be about all the time, and I loved it. So, guys, there you have it. You saw the worst, and you saw the best. Hopefully, you enjoyed this week's countdown. And until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off, guys. I'll see you in the next comic book review. Take care. Bye.